What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video in our Tag Mixer plugin building series. Today what I wanted to do is I kind of wanted to change up gears a little bit because I had a time to think about this in the last few days about how I wanted to continue on this series. Because like I said, I really am building this thing real time with you guys. I'm really coming up with the ideas on the fly and kind of adding them and making a real plugin out of it. I mean, I had the plugin idea for a long time, but not specifically how I was going to build it. Anyway, and hey, if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe, will you? And if you have already, I appreciate you. In this video, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on adding a filter versus an action. I haven't done any of that really, except for way back in some earlier videos when I first explained like what is WordPress series, which never really got a lot of traction anyway. But I kind of went through like what is WordPress, what's the difference between an action and a filter. Long story short, action in WordPress is something that goes out and does something and doesn't come back. A filter does something, modifies an existing part of WordPress, comes back and gives you a result. I explained it back in the earlier videos like a bus where people get on, like a city bus, where some people get on and they get off at stops and they don't come back, and some people come back to the bus station. The people who leave and don't come back are the actions, and the people who come back on the bus are the filters, because they come back with something. So real quick, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add a filter into this plugin that's going to modify. This is a video output page from our from a different series, from a YouTube building series that I'm still working on. I just haven't posted a video to it in a while, and I'm going to have some really cool stuff planned for this series actually. But anyway, I want to add we want to be able to add our jQuery, because remember, the plugin we're building right now, the Tag Mixer plugin, is going to use jQuery to modify sources or elements on pages real time based on the user's queries. That's what we're building, and that's what it's going to do. Well, in order to do that, the page needs to load first, then the jQuery needs to run. You want to run it inside before the body tag ends, so in the content, not in the footer. At first I said we would put it in the footer. We don't need to do that. We're going to put it in the body after the content, run all our jQuery. Well, how can we do that? Well, WordPress already has a call for this, how it outputs all this information, and it's called the content. That's the section of the page between the header, sidebar, footer area that puts out whatever's in the WordPress page's content. We're going to hook the content using a filter and then output our code at the bottom. So here's how you do that. Back in the Tag Mixer files, and I closed all my folders so you could follow more easily. I noticed in my older videos I was doing that, in my newer ones I'm not really doing that, so I kind of wanted to get back to doing that. So the first thing is we need to go into the includes, and we got to go to the base class file. And in here, this is where we have all of our, we hook all of our public defined hooks in our admin defined hooks. Well, down here in our public defined hooks, because the way that whoever was, very smart and built this boilerplate, it's really easy to do this. What we're going to do is we're going to say add a content filter. And here's exactly how it's going to work. We can, usually we're lazy, we just take the existing one. Why write all this when it's right here? But here's the important part. You see how it says add action right here? Well, we don't want an action, we want a filter. Okay, and there's a big difference, and I'm about to explain why. So what we're going to be hooking into in the WordPress core is the _ content. So we're hooking into the content of WordPress. That's hooking this, whatever's being outputted in the page's content, page or post, doesn't matter. And then we're going to call to the public plugin file, which is in our public right here. That's what we're going to hook to look for the function. And let's call the function like Tag Mixer Edition or something like that. That's fine. Make sure we copy that so we can take it with us. Okay, so we've now added a filter to the content that we're going to hook into the content, and and we're going to look in the public file, PHP file, and we're going to look for this function. That's what's going to hook to this. All right, so if we open that, now what you're going to see is if we scroll down to the bottom, right after everything here, let's just drop out a few lines, and we're going to say public function, add that in, and then open up some tags. All right, and then maybe give us some commenting too. This is going to add our Tag Mixer code after the body content. The body. Okay. Now here's the thing. Here's something important to understand. Since we are filtering and not adding an action doesn't hook to anything by default. It's not manipulatable the same way as a filter is. In the filter, we are manipulating the content, so it's easy to add a parameter to get the content. I know this can be difficult to understand, but let me just show you like this. So we're going to say our content. Now the thing is, our content is now accessible, and it contains everything that the page is getting ready to output because it's being hooked. It's being filtered. So that's accessible now as a the first parameter that you can call to or that you can include with this is getting all the content of the page and storing it in a variable to be returned. It's all going to make sense in just a second because this is a very short video. All right, so here's what we're going to do. This is going to be real easy. We're going to say, let's do like an echo, just like a hello world type echo. So let's just say add some stuff after the content. We could do it before or after, and I'll show you right now exactly how that's going to work. So let's just say the tag mixer code. And let's just give it like a thing that says like, hello, this is after the body code. Or, you know, not the body code, but body content. It's still inside the body tags. That's the important part. Okay, that's the first part. Then the second part, we're going to say restructure the content. The cool part is it's only like 3 lines. It's super easy. All right, so the variable we need is our content. That's the page's content. We're going to say it equals our content. It's equaling the pages, what's currently in the page. So that's the same, right? If it's all those videos of cars or whatever, it's going to do that. But we're going to concatenate it, and guess what we're going to add at the end? Guess what? Look what we just did. We just filtered and added an additional output to the page's content, and then all we have to say is return the new body content. And guess what we do? Return, which is going to do exactly like it says. It's going to return the body content back to WordPress before the page gets outputted. That's that. That's all it takes. This video may actually be a true 10-minute or less video. But that's it. So this is a big difference between a filter and an action, and we are going to use a filter, by the way. And the reason why I made this decision is because I should have said this at the beginning of the video. I made a decision to allow the user. We're going to add another settings field, maybe even down here. Maybe we'll change this in the future and make like a selectable like tabs or something. Right now I'm just laying them all out. We can always change it in a moment. But what I'm going to do is allow the user to say, do you want this to be in all the pages, footers, or, you know, not in the footer, but after the content? Or do you want to use a short code to output these functions so you can put on particular pages in your website so not everything's a marketing page? Okay, that's a very important thing. Because at first I was just going to make it like site-wide in the footer. Everything was going to hook after the content. But in this particular case, I think it might be better off to let the user decide and then give them the short code they can output wherever they want. So by the way, let's just go ahead and refresh this, and we should have an output after here. Yeah, check it out. Hello, this is after the body content. See that? So, but it's inside the body section. It's not in the footer. It's inside the body tags, but it's after all the body elements have loaded. Now, why is that important? Because in jQuery, we need the DOM to load, a bunch of DOM elements to load before we run our jQuery. So we need to like let actual elements load into the page before we manipulate them versus try to access them when they don't exist. Is one major reason. There's a couple others, but that's the major one. And then if you wanted to add something before the content, how do you think you'd do that? Our content is the body content. So you would add a variable right here, and you would say like the before content. Like if we had something like the before, and now look what happens. You just added something at the very start of the opening body tag and at the very end of the body tag around the WordPress content in your page. Super easy, really, really easy to do. And it seems way harder than it is, but anyway, that's going to do us in for this one. When the next video, we're actually going to add a shortcode. We're going to add shortcodes to this plugin because we're going to need it. And then in the following video, we're going to go ahead and make a settings spot and options for the database. And then we're going to activate this because once we do that, how do you think this gets done? This is going to have all the info in it for like detecting the incoming get variable key and all that. We can do all that right here because that's how it's going to, that's what it's going to do, right? When it calls to this to filter, it's on the page. So it can access all the stuff like get variables and post variables and all that kind of stuff. And then all we have to say is, say like our setting, our get option setting was like when our database, we called it like footer active or like site-wide active or something is what we called our setting. How do you think we would do that here? We would say if, and say above we got our option, it was just called like site-wide, and say it was selected to true because the user wanted it site-wide. We would do something like this. Or like if we saved it in our database as a number 1, like say that if the option is put to yes, it saves a 1, and if the user wants to use shortcodes, the option is set to 0. It would just be something like this. And we'd say if site-wide equals 1, meaning the users check the box where they want it site-wide versus just a shortcode, then it would run this code, otherwise it would skip it. And we're going to actually do that in the future. I just want to give you an example of how it's going to work. Then the shortcode, obviously won't fire unless the user places it somewhere. So, and maybe what we could even do is an override in the shortcode. So like if a user forgot and left a shortcode on a page somewhere, we'd also do an if statement in the shortcode. So I don't know, I'm still deciding, but this is going to allow a lot more robustness in this program, because you can either do it site-wide by default or you can use a shortcode. So anyway, hey, I think I'm going to wrap it up right there. That's pretty easy. Just really quick video about filters versus actions. Filters manipulate content that already exists. Okay, that's why it's going after the body content and then changing it. It's not doing something brand new. Whereas our actions are all doing things that are brand new. Yes, they're hooking into a particular part of WordPress, but they're not grabbing the existing content or anything. They're doing something different. This is manipulating and returning. So that was a big difference. And hey, if you like this, subscribe, will you? And if you're not, and if you already are subscribed, I appreciate you. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one, where we start adding some shortcodes into this thing. It should be pretty fun.